Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
All right. We got our guy back in the house here, Tyler Forness, Forno from A to Z Sports, the Vikings First and Skol YouTube channel for a deep dive on the Vikings' path to the draft here. So we're gonna just put a quarter in Tyler basically and sit under the learning tree during draft season after we shout out MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, Judd Zolgad.
Speaking of things that you don't know and trying to learn, I'm not suggesting that you try to learn about things like your furnace, but I am going to suggest that if something goes wrong, like a couple of weeks ago, Sports Dad's furnace on Friday, sort of weird. It was sort of clunky, right? Sports Dad calls his friends at MSP. By Saturday, it's out, it's cold, they come in, and I'm going to tell you right now, MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air to the rescue because they fixed it. They told me what was wrong. Full disclosure, I have no idea. It was some panel or something. I don't know, but that's the most important thing. I don't have to know.
It was the phalange. Phalange.
Yes, they do know. They do know, and it got fixed quick, and that's the key thing here. You got to have a guy. Plumbing, heating, air. We know nothing about those. They're not DIYs. MSP is going to take care of you. For service, do what Sports Dad did. Give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call msp.com. They worry and take care of the things that you know nothing about, but you need fixed.
You know, business insurance is not do-it-yourself either. You need a partner like Federated Mutual Insurance Company to come in and act as a great offensive line for your business. So you're like the quarterback, you're the business owner, and Federated's like I don't know, Ryan Kelly and Will Fries or something. And they're here to help you grow your business through risk management. They have 100+ years of experience helping businesses grow through risk management, focusing on safety, preventing claims, and they're here to help you. You can find a full list of industries that Federated specializes in at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Forno, with your Warren Moon jerseys in the background that we always love, what are your thoughts on what the Vikings have done in the 3 weeks of this free agency period here?
I think that they've been very calculated, and I think the process really goes to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Like, one of the things that I've always really liked about him is everything he does and says feels very intentional. Nothing feels like really off the cuff. Everything feels incredibly thought out, and there is a process and a plan for everything. And you can kind of tell that there has been a process and a plan going forward. One of the things I had one of my colleagues ask Kevin O'Connell about this morning was how they used the compensatory draft formula to really utilize this free agency process, because I kind of identified it back in January that, hey, this is probably a route you're going to want to go because of Darnold, because of Cam Robinson, and that's the route they have gone. And he kind of just said it's just a ball of chaos because they introduced, like, it's not just the contract. There is a snap formula. So if you play 99% of snaps, you get 99 points added on to your number. So if you're like the 100th biggest contract, then you get 99 points added onto it, and you get points for postseason awards, like being a first-team All-Pro, being a most valuable player, and then that can significantly impact your compensatory formula. The Vikings went down from a third to a fourth-round pick because Trey Waynes missed the whole season with a torn pectoral muscle. So those factors really throw a wrench into things, but it's cool that they're trying to utilize this process because the Baltimore Ravens have gotten 60 compensatory picks, first in the National Football League. The Vikings have gotten 29. They're about average. So trying to utilize this process more has been great. I think they've attacked needs, and now they can go into the draft without having to desperately need anything, which is a fantastic position to be in.
I think that's the most important thing too, because I'm hard pressed to think of a lot of drafts in which the Vikings didn't go into it with us all convinced that there was like a first round. You got to address this, right?
They need a center. Garrett Bradbury is sitting right there,
and that's the worst part though, because then you're potentially A, forcing picks, and B, you're not necessarily adhering to positional value, right? Like when you take a center in the first round because, oh my God, we have to take one. Well, ordinarily, you probably would never take that position in the first round. So I do think the fact that they have with veterans too. So and it's weird, Forno. It's sort of outside their scope. I think in a perfect world, they probably sign a DT who's 26, right? First contract done. In this case, they went veterans, which to me says it screams this. They feel that this team is set to pop right now, but B, it also does help them pull off the feeling that there are these specific needs in the draft that have to be addressed. So they truly can go either trade back or go best player available without feeling like that's a potential mistake.
Yeah, there's so many layers to this. What I find interesting is the last two off seasons, the Vikings have tried to make a push for that young defensive tackle. They tried for Christian Wilkins last year. They got outbid, and I don't blame them for saying no to $27.5 million. And Wilkins missed the majority of the year due to injury. And then this year, Milton Williams gets 26. That dude has never been able to defend the run. So I don't know if I'm willing to pay $26 million for a guy that I can't guarantee that's going to be at least a capable enough run defender, where I feel comfortable enough after watching film over the course of a long period of time with both Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave that I can get solid run defense from those guys. Now, does Jalen Redmond maybe get one of those starting spots for the run game purposes? I think that's a possibility we can discuss, especially because we know how much Brian Flores likes to utilize multiple players in those roles. So I'm less convinced that maybe it's just about that Super Bowl window, Judd, and more about, hey, I think that we can sign these guys to these 2-year deals, keep that flexibility up. And I think I'm getting better, well-rounded players to fit what we want this unit to be. And I can get them for a better price. You got Hargrave and Allen for essentially average annual value, like without those incentives, because Allen's contract was inflated $9 million for incentives. You're getting them for an average annual value of $32 million a year, or Milton Williams for $26 million.
Yeah.
I'll take the latter. And it's also that injury thing, right? They're taking bets on players who were injured, and that this medical staff can kind of alleviate some of those issues. It's worked before, so let's keep going down that route. And I would prefer that process because you're getting two guys for essentially the price of one, and that guy has never been a great run defender.
Yes. So this is the point. I made this point a couple weeks ago too. It's like it felt like, because you go into free agency, and sometimes from where we sit too, your first thought is like, well, let's look at the 25, 26, 27-year-old bin, because that could be, it's going to be expensive, but it could be a long-term solution to your biggest problem. But Milton Williams has been, he's not a 900 snap guy. I mean, he's more of a rotational player who's, like you said, a little more one-dimensional than maybe the free agency lead-up period, because we're pumping these, you're looking at a list of players and you're pumping tires on guys. I'd rather, if you've got money to spend, I'd rather go get a couple of veterans who might be on the edge of the age curve, but who have established track records of being excellent at their craft, than overpaying for one guy that has some question marks. And then, you know what? If those guys go over the age cliff in a year or 2 years, there's going to be another set of Hargraves, guys who get cut because of cap issues. And signing guys who get cut, like you said, helps your comp pick formula and equation. So it was masterful to watch them add and improve with these pieces and still get the 3rd and 4th round comp picks with the free agents out and in equation.
No, it was really great to see. And the way that they've kind of maneuvered throughout this whole free agency process, I think, has been really nice to see. I'm just really impressed with how he's kind of gone about things on an overall level. I think I've been higher on Kwesi Adofo-Mensah than most people, and I know we'll talk plenty about it, the NFL draft. I think some of the NFL draft stuff has been a little overblown, and I understand it because 2022 feels like a disaster. But when you look at 23 and 24, it's like you're looking at two different general managers, how there's been an approach. And I think there's reasons for some of those misses in 22 that have not been duplicated since. I'm just really impressed with it. There's a plan, but there's flexibility within that plan, and they continue to grow and adapt and mold throughout the course of his tenure, and it's working really, really well. 34-17. How can you argue against that?
I think to go back to the defensive tackles too, I think what's interesting is there's a possibility that with two vets brought in, the Vikings have also, though, potentially positioned themselves to take a defensive tackle if they stick and pick at 24, who eventually is the guy, which is it's ideal if you can find that guy in the draft, right? And then you can basically don't have the pressure of trying to go out and sign guys. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they've done a very nice job, and this is definitely a very strategic group of people. Like they're playing a lot of interesting games here that I don't know that a ton of front offices in this league are. But there is an interesting philosophy, and I think this comes down to now really one thing: the quarterback, right? If McCarthy is who O'Connell thinks he is, and until O'Connell proves he's not good with QBs, which I don't expect, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if McCarthy can come in and be who O'Connell thinks, I think you have a blueprint, and the parts around it will change a bit for now. But I think you have a blueprint that could work for a long time and give you stability that this franchise certainly has not had on a consistent basis. They're usually good. I don't know that I would consider them stable consistently, though.
I think they have to really prove that stable and consistency, right? It's on the right track. But when you want to talk about something like that, you want to see a trend line. The Vikings haven't made the playoffs in back-to-back years since 08, 09. And that was with Brad Childress, and we know how unstable that regime was.
Isn't that crazy, by the way?
It
like
is.
We think like this is like a competitive franchise, and and like you said, they've got 37 wins or whatever it is in the Kwesi KOC era, and they haven't done the back-to-back playoff thing in over a decade and a half. That's wild.
You want to hear a funny stat? The Atlanta Falcons have never made the playoffs in back-to-back years. They've been around since the 70s.
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah, 98, the first month or first game, Jamal Anderson tears his knee the next season in 99. Yep.
Yeah. It also goes to show you that the NFL is really built for parity. And the way the schedules are set up, where if you win your division, you get a first place schedule. I mean, there's only like 4 or 5 games that are different, but those 4 or 5 games can completely derail a potential playoff run. Yeah. So they're really trying to do that. And look, it's hard. If Kirk Cousins doesn't get hurt in 23, that team probably goes on a playoff run. Now, do they actually do well in the playoffs? I'd say they maybe won a wild card game, but they were certainly on a trajectory, and they
were going for
football.
They were going to get to 9 wins, probably at 4-4 the way that they were playing.
Yeah. They may even get to 10. Like, they were just on fire. They took the Packers behind the woodshed in that game, and it wasn't even close. But the way that things are trending, I feel very, very positive, and I think Kwesi's going to get that extension. I really liked his comment last week where he said, like, I'm so focused on moving this team forward that I'm not even thinking about the contract extension, and it's probably my fault it's not done right now. And then Mark Wolf said yesterday, we want to get it done. So, the way this team is trending, I feel very positive about it. It's not perfect, but it's in a great spot.
So, Forno, I think most people who consume Purple Daily know that you're up till odd hours of the night grinding film. You are a draft connoisseur, a draft sommelier, if you will, and you write a lot about the draft too for A to Z Sports. So, one thing you wrote about recently, which I find really fascinating, is you went back the last 3 years and examined trends and themes in Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's draft history, whether it's the RAS scores or the schools that players went to, Power 5 schools versus non-Power 5. And you actually identified 8 to 9 players who could be targets in the first round based on, and it's kind of a small sample, but like it's what we have to work with 3 years. So what are some of the main themes and trends you've noticed in Kwesi's draft history? And with that, who should we be keeping an eye on? And we will do a mock draft simulation at the end of this so we can actually put this into exercise. But give us your thoughts.
So I do think what you said is really important, Phil. It's a small sample size. You can't draw any concrete conclusions from this. The whole goal of this exercise, and for lack of a better term, I'm calling it like the Kwesi Adofo-Mensah draft manifesto, where I'm looking at all angles. I've got a database built out, and I'm trying to find different potential trends on what he's looking at and what's working as far as what kind of players he's bringing in to see, okay, what are trends? What are things that we can use to try and be predictive? This isn't Rick Spielman where it was pretty rigid. The Packers are more rigid than any franchise in the National Football League when it comes to how they utilize their thresholds. And you know what? It's hard to argue against it on a large scale because the Packers have arguably been the most successful organization in my lifetime. And I'm 35 years old. They have been so consistent across the board. And one of the things I found with Kwesi is the Lewis team pick was a tiny bit of an outlier from age purposes, but age has been a huge factor in those first rounds. Once he gets out of the top 45 picks, age doesn't matter at all. Some of that's going to be due to COVID-19 and how players are just older. Like Kyrie Jackson was an odd story because he spent 2 years away from football and then got back into it. And he would have been 25 at the start of his rookie year, but Mekhi Blackman was 24 at the start of his rookie year. They don't care about age as you move forward, but Justin Jefferson was 20 when he got drafted. He's going to sign that third contract at 30 when he's still in his prime. So those aspects help you maximize the value of a first-round pick, and it's something you learned from Andrew Berry. The last 3 first-round picks the Vikings had 21.25. So 21 and a quarter years old is what they all essentially were. I don't do the exact dates. I just do generic rounding, which 21 and a quarter. J.J. McCarthy is going to be 22. Dallas Turner is going to be 22. They're going to be in year 2. Jordan Addison is going to be 23 next year. Like you're talking about really young football players who can still maximize a lot of their potential. That's huge. And that helps you really grow. So if you have a 25-year-old, like there's the Louisville quarterback, Tyler Shuck. How fully developed is he? He's 25. Are you going to be able to extract more from that? A 21-year-old, you can absolutely extract more.
Yeah. It is funny, but we've got this like the end of the COVID where, I don't know, guys got like an extra year, 2 years sometimes if they had an injury redshirt. So you're getting basketball and in football, you're getting like these 25-year-olds more often than usual just because of the coming out of the pandemic period.
Yeah, and thankfully, I think this is going to be the last year of that. Shuck is a different case. He was injured for 6 years and then finally stayed healthy in year 7. Shuck was the backup to Justin Herbert, and he was supposed to be the guy to take over. So
that's wild.
That is very wild. I noticed a couple other things. They've only drafted from Power 4 institutions in the first 6 rounds. BYU, you can argue with Jaron Hall that it wasn't because it was an independent, but they played a Power 4 schedule and they joined the Big 12 the next year. So I grouped them into that same bucket. The only 2 non-Power 4 players that they picked, Dwayne McBride in round 7, Levi Drake Rodriguez in round 7. Power 4 institutions. One of the reasons why you play a tougher strength of schedule, you play tougher opponents, therefore you are more NFL ready. That's another thing that he took from Andrew Berry. They almost exclusively take P4 guys in like the top 50. Like every once in a while, you'll see a non-P4 guy slip in. They took Alex Wright a couple years ago, the really long edge rusher. But that group of players theoretically makes it a much easier transition and a much easier projection. If you can eliminate variables, that's an easy way to do so.
So maybe like a Gray Zabel from NDSU, the big versatile offensive lineman, and I get small sample size here, but a little less likely based on the Andrew Berry, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah lineage and patterns, less likely that a Zabel would be on the Vikings, unless it's like, hey, they traded back, and now he's fallen like 15 slots off where he's clearly the best player, right?
Yeah. I think Zabel's off of where any of my projections will be because he played at NDSU. Now, he went to the Senior Bowl and he's arguably the best player down there. And one of the best parts about the Senior Bowl is you see guys from small schools go up and play big boys. Well, he dominated the big boys. So that tells you that the dominances you see on his film will translate somewhat because he went and dominated top-tier competition. So I don't think the Vikings will take him. I also am not in a position to say, well, hey, they really need to keep fortifying the offensive line. They have a solid player in Brandel who is great next to Darisaw. When Darisaw comes back, if that's your only weak spot, you're sitting real good. So I don't feel the need that it needs to be forced and fortified. Sure, get another guy for competition. I think that's a great idea. But I don't think you need to spend a first-round pick on that player. If you do, it's fine. One of the other big things is, and this is a little ambiguous, movement skills. So Lewis Seen had a 99.8 percentile 10-yard split. Dallas Turner 90.3 percentile. 40-yard dash, Seen was 98.8 percentile. Turner was 99.7. Addison was a different kind of movement skill. They utilized GPS data and just the route running. Because as a route running savant, he's got incredible movement skills. But he is not one of those players that's going to wow you as a burner. 77.8 percentile 40-yard dash, 73rd percentile 10-yard split. So he's good enough. But it's how he utilizes his movements on field And like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, when they run these out routes, they don't slow down. They round it like perfectly. They don't have to like stop and drop their hips like an old school out route. They just are able to maneuver really, really well. And that is such a benefit. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why they took it. But being an elite mover in however measurement that they want to utilize it, I think has been a really big factor in some of these first round picks. McCarthy, he's a very good mover for a quarterback, but we don't have a lot of testing on him. But he ran an elite 3-cone. And I think if you go to Michigan, you just have to run an elite 3-cone or you just don't get to play there.
But you have to have, if teams break things down, you have to look at the movement skill based on the position, right? Because like the most overrated thing that the receiver position used to get stuck on was just speed.
Mm-hmm.
Straight ahead speed. Well, you never run unless it's just a 9 route. You never just run straight ahead speed.
Unless you already have the ball. If you already have the ball, it's great. But you need to get the ball. But even then, you might
have to cut. But the most important thing is, and this again is why the marriage, unfortunately, of Cordero Patterson and the Vikings didn't work. Cordero Patterson was and is still a tremendous athlete.
Yeah,
he couldn't run a route. Like, I think what we see with Justin and Jordan, especially, right? Look at their routes. Look at the precision, which is the most important thing. So, like, I would say that what the league has now is the ability to judge, because all speed is not the same based on position. And the receiver one, Jordan Addison off the field, I'm not so sure about. On the field, I think he is an incredibly intelligent player. Incredibly
I think you make a really good point about speed, Judd. Speed is a cheat code, but it should not be your true calling card. One of the reasons I like Xavier Worthy so much last year out of Texas, he ran the 4.21 40, but he knew how to use it within context of actually playing receiver. He actually ran routes. He knew how to run certain concepts. And I'm like, okay, this guy can translate, because one of the things that makes Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle special, they can actually run routes. They can do the little nuanced things along with having that game-breaking speed. I thought Henry Ruggs was going to be the same thing before he had his off-the-field stuff, and now, unfortunately, he's in jail. Those things matter. You have your Darius Hayward-Bays who just run fast. They don't do anything in the NFL because all they can do is run fast. That it's a cheat code. It should not be your calling card. You have to be a technical wizard when it comes to the wide receiver position.
Real quick, before we get to our mock draft simulation here, one of the things you're doing at A2Z.com is rounding up all of the different mock drafts and how many times each player gets mocked to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. So
it looks like to this point, after 12 weeks of mock roundups and mock season here, it's safety, sort of hybrid defensive back. Is it pronounced, by the way, Nick Emmanwori? Is that how you pronounce it? Or Emmanwori? Emmanwori. So he's been mocked 53 times by your count to the Vikings. The Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron and then safety Malachi Starks are tied for second most mocked to the Vikings. So it's a lot of secondary. Not shocking at this point that corners and safeties would be them. And then you got some defensive tackles like the Derek Harmons and the Walter Nolans of the world. What does that information tell you? Do those, like the consensus mocks and the consensus big boards, how much do they correlate to what actually happens on draft day?
So I only have a couple years of like really concrete data because I started this project in the 22 draft, but I only got like 100 some mocks because I started late and I was too selective. So my goal with this is to try and get a sense for what the entire industry is. And John Harbaugh said it yesterday at the owners' meetings. They use industry mock drafts to try and get a sense of where players generally will go. And I think you can get a really good piece of information on that. I think Arif Hassan's consensus board, when that comes out here in a few weeks, is one of the best tools that we can use as far as trying to piece some of those things together. Over the course of my 3 years of doing this, Jordan Addison had 52 of 545 selections in 2003. He was second on the list. Yeah. Deontay Banks was first at 62. Last year, J.J. McCarthy had 273 of 838 selections at first overall. The majority of those came after the combine, where you had like 16, 29, 34. And the last week, or the day I published it, the day of the draft, 61 total selections. Seventh on that list was Dallas Turner at 45. So there is some correlation to what the industry thinks versus what the Vikings actually do. It's not going to be perfect, but it gives us some interesting data. And as you said, safety has become a really big factor here. I view Jahdae Barron as a safety. I don't view him as an outside corner. I think he can play there. I don't think it's his best spot. And I think there's some discussion about where he should play. I think you should play him like Minkah Fitzpatrick, where you have him as a safety, but he can do other things for you. And you can use him a little bit as a joker. But Iman Warrior has been picked 34 times in the last 3 weeks. Malachi Starks 26. And then Xavier Watts, the Notre Dame safety, twice. So you're talking at about 50% of your draft selections have been those three players. And then if you include Jahdae Barron, 57.25%. That's a significant shift in how it's been viewed overall, because it was Siobhan Revel and Jahdae Barron were like first and second overall for weeks and weeks. And now you're starting to see those guys trend a little bit differently. Revel's going down, Barron's going up, because a lot of guys like Todd McShay saying top 10, top 10. Safety has become a position that people are focusing on for the Vikings. I don't think that's by mistake. I also don't think if they decide to forego safety, that it would be the end of the world. I'm team wide receiver if a great one is there, because I think that can elevate the offense to a different level.
I'm gonna.
This is perfect.
We are also. I don't know that it would be, all things equal, my number one choice, but definitely not. Is it fair to say that Purple Daily right now is not anti-wide receiver in the first round? That would be fun.
Good. Don't be anti-wide receiver. It's a complicated question.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because, look, that guy is probably wide receiver 3 for a couple of years. But if you think that guy is a true difference maker and you want to maximize your young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, Brian Flores is a wizard. You give him more talent, great. If you don't, he can cook. Well, we believe McCarthy can cook. Give him every ingredient so he can be successful. So if you think that guy's a difference maker, and I think there's a couple that are really, really interesting for the Vikings, I think you seriously consider it. Plus, wide receivers are really expensive. Jordan Addison, even if you pay him, you have to have a good number 3, and you run a lot of 11 personnel. It's not exactly a waste of money. Plus, hey, maybe you can rotate Justin Jefferson out like 3 or 4 more plays a game, give him a little rest, keep him fresher. Like, there's so many benefits to doing that, and it gives you more flexibility to do even more down the line.
I say we mock, because if we mock, we'll see if a receiver's there. The 4-1.
I think we might be putting our thumb on the scale with this one now. Hey, by the way, before we mock here and do an official simulation with Forno, I just want to remind you guys, the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Tickets are available, scorenorth.com/draft. It's the 4th annual and the second time we've been back here at the Fillmore in Minneapolis. So April 24th, Thursday night, 7 p.m. And it'll be, obviously we're going to go pick by pick and keep you posted on what's happening in the draft. But with the draft maybe being a little bit less of a main character compared to last year when it was quarterback drama, it'll be a celebration of the free agency money that they've spent, fun discussions, and a celebration of your favorite football team and this podcast and you guys, the audience. Scorenorth.com/draft. And a shout out again to Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, 2 Men in a Junk Truck, Roku, and all of our awesome partners that are helping us put this thing on here. Judd, cheers to you as well, Judd. It's always Padres season. I know March is over, which is like the real Irish drinking season, but yeah.
That's okay. Okay, look at Sportsnet right there.
Get a couple of beers at Padres.
Exactly right, Padres, because here's the thing about Padres. They are brewing Irish and UK classics, and that's what they do. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're not in their back room like, what other drink can we come up with? Oh, no. It's all about the beer. And I'm going to tell you, it is delicious. I've been talking for a long time now about the Irish Red, which is fantastic, the Irish Porter, English IPA. I could go down the entire list, but instead, I want you to try them out. Stop in. They are in the old Lando Nod Factory at the corner of Broadway and Central Avenues Northeast, or check them out in liquor stores. You can get them at Lunds and Byerly's, Kowalski's, Haskell's, Hy-Vee, Total Wine, Cub, MGM, and on and on. If your favorite bar does not carry them, if your favorite liquor store does not, ask for Padres by name. And I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to be glad that you did, that the Sports Dad turned you on to such a delicious beer.
Yesterday, our guys Jeremiah Searles and Alex Boone over on the O-line committee did a film breakdown of Will Fries and Ryan Kelly and how they kind of worked together in Colts uniforms and what it could look like in purple. And that's great. But I'm here to tell those guys, you're probably in the market for a new dentist, right? You're coming to a new city. It's scary. Who's going to clean my teeth? Well, I try to figure out this offensive scheme here. Park Dental to the rescue for the new offensive lineman here. Wherever they choose to live, there's probably a Park Dental location conveniently located within minutes of maybe even where they work in Eagan. Over 50 years, Park Dental has been caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin, including my teeth now for the last, 8 months or so. It's been a nice couple of visits there. You can schedule your checkup at parkdental.com. That's parkdental.com.
I want a mock.
All right, boys. Let's pop this up here on the screen for the YouTube audience. You will see the visual. For the audio audience, we will guide you through this experience. We got about 15 minutes left here to explore the space. So we're going to do a 7-round mock. This is the PFF mock draft simulator. We're going to choose the Vikings. We generally just leave the settings where they're at here. And let's enter this thing. So before we do anything, Forno, would love your philosophy on. So you're going to be the general manager, and then, we'll just be like your interns who get you coffee during this draft experience. Any desire to trade up? Like, should we pause the draft at the 20th pick, or should we just turbo it to 24 and then decide?
I'd pause it at about 15 because there are two players where I would give some consideration to trade up for. Texas A&M edge rusher Shamar Stewart, who I think is a top 3-4 player in this class. I don't care that he didn't have production. You have to understand the context of how Texas A&M played on the defensive line. They wanted to stop the run first. Everything was run first. That dude has absolutely freaky movement skills. He played at 285 pounds last year. He got down to 267 for the combine, but he was 281 at the Senior Bowl. He can move. And the other one is Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell. I love Ivan Pace. I think he's a very good player, but I think Campbell can be a difference maker. Like, one of the reasons why Tampa Bay's Tampa 2 was so successful is Derek Brooks could run the pole, and he could run in between those split safeties and play coverage. Campbell can do that at 240 pounds, and he can also be a good run stuffer. He can shed blocks. He is a true 3-down linebacker. And if you have two of those guys, it can just allow you to do a lot of different things. Plus, he's got edge rusher potential. Like, that's the kind of guy that I would want in my linebacker room. So those would be the two I would consider, but it'd be a really steep price. And I don't know if I'm willing to pay it, but I'm at least thinking about it.
Yeah, well, we can go pick. So I did pause it at 15. Here's what the board looks like right now. So Cam Ward, number 1 to the Titans, and then Travis Hunter to the Browns at 2, with maybe Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. The rumor out of the owners' meetings is after the draft, it might be Kirk with Stefanski reunited. And then, so Jahdae Barron actually goes 6 to the Raiders here. Shedeur Sanders to the Jets at 7. Ashton Ginty to the Niners at 11. That's super interesting, putting him back there with kind of a fading Christian McCaffrey. And the Falcons are on the clock at 15. So you tell us, do you want to keep going pick by pick here, or
let's drop to the Seahawks and kind of see where we're at, because okay. I think those guys that I talked about will both be gone. But those are the only one I'm really considering here. Like,
Jahad Campbell just went there. Okay, so
they're both
the last,
gone.
Yep. So Mikael Williams, Jahad Campbell, and then Shamar Stewart. But, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. Other than like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, who both can be gone in the top 5 with ease. Those are the only two I would even consider a trade up for, because I think they're elite level difference makers that would be just it would be absolutely feasting with Brian Flores. So
that's fair. It's I think being on alert for, no one's talking about a trade up really, but just being, because they only have 4 picks, but being on alert there is the prudent thing to do. So here we sit, Vikings on the clock.
A wide receiver.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
By the way, this is the first time we've ever done this where there's been 0 trade offers.
Huh. Oh, you're not getting any? Oh, interesting.
Usually we get 3, 5, maybe 7 trade offers. And now we could explore and call some other teams. But this is what the board looks like.
I'm really disappointed the Packers took Emeka Egbuka, because I wanted to talk about him. If you like, one of the things that made the Rams so successful in the beginning of the Sean McVay era was Cooper Kupp, and that ability to be a route running savant, be able to catch everything, being flexible to play inside, outside, but also do a lot of the dirty work and block. Like, Egbuka is that guy. And I think having that ability, because at wide receiver, it's great to have a basketball team, but in how Kevin O'Connell likes to play, being redundant isn't a bad thing, because Jefferson and Addison are very redundant. They are very similar players in how they play, how they win, and how they want to attack defenses. So I would love to have that kind of guy. I'm also big on Luther Burden because he's a yak guy, but he's not a slot only. He can play outside at the Z.
We're all yak guys.
He's a very interesting eval because his quarterback, Brady Cook, was really bad. And if he would have played with any semblance of a decent quarterback, I think people are talking about him a lot more highly. But you get the ball in his hands. It's like, remember the Percy Harvin days where you get the ball in his hands, anything can happen, and it can just be electric. Kind of some of the similar vibes with Burden. He can do anything with the ball in his hands once he gets it. Would it be a little bit of a, hey, this is kind of a luxury pick? Yeah, but you're taking a luxury pick that's loaded with talent that can elevate your offense to another level. And let's be honest, the Vikings don't have a yak guy.
Yeah.
Jefferson's not a yak guy. Addison's not a yak guy. Hawkinson's not a yak guy. They need that kind of difference maker.
The yak.
I kind of love this, actually. Plus, he's also on the PFF board. He's 14th. Mm-hmm. So if we, not that this should be the main inspiration for why we make a pick, but we are hunting for an A or an A plus for the first time in this exercise. But, I mean, this would be if they, like, let's say the Vikings big board is reflective of what you see here, where they've got Luther Burden III from Missouri as the best player on their board and the 14th overall ranked player on their board, sitting at 24. Would they, and let's say then if you go to a bigger position of need, like a Walter Nolan defensive interior, or Derek Harmon, for instance, if there isn't a trade back available that you like, I think you would go with the guy that's ranked 10 spots above your slot right here and take the wide receiver. Right? Isn't this a classic example of don't get stuck on positions of need, take best player available, right?
And let's be real. The Vikings have made the NFC Championship game 4 times in my lifetime. 2 of those years, they took a wide receiver in the 20s, Randy Moss and Percy Harvin.
I think we do it, boys. I mean,
Thor is going to be very upset though, because I think 5 names down, and Walter Nolan is there. So.
Yeah, give us your Walter Nolan take here.
So he's interesting. He's not even 21 yet. He's a young football. Oh, sorry, he just turned 21. I'm getting my guys mixed up. Scorton's the guy who's not 21 yet. Very explosive pass rusher. Has some effort concerns. Like you can kind of see, like not necessarily like no effort, but not as much effort as you'd like to see on tape. But he hasn't really been asked to do the thing he's really, really good at a lot, which is just be a gap shooting 3-tech. They're asking him to stunt and slant nonstop at Ole Miss, and I don't think they used him as well as they could have. There are some off-field concerns that I've heard about. You have to take those with a grain of salt. I don't have enough information to tell you if they're credible or not, but the more you keep hearing it from more people, the more you kind of lingers in your head, like, hey, maybe that's a thing. But with Nolan, he's also not great against double teams. He got washed out a lot against Georgia. You're drafting him because you want him to be a gap shooting pass rusher, and he could be really, really, really good at that.
That's intriguing right there.
I have questions in the run game, and I think that might push him down the Vikings board a little bit. You just have a guy who's the #1 overall recruit in 2022. He's got loads of talent, incredible athleticism and explosiveness for his size at 300 pounds. But are you going to be able to harness that with enough consistency to make that pick worth it? I think those are real questions.
I will say this. I've decided on certain positions, O-line, defensive line especially, if you're known as sort of a cantankerous guy who has stirred things up, I don't mind you as much. Defensive lineman, I want an edge. I want an edge. So, like, if you've gotten in trouble for terrible things off the field, I'm out. But if you've just had a little disturbance here or there, defensive line, I might listen. I might be like, okay.
You're willing to
don't do that,
look
but
the
I like
other
your
way
edge.
potentially. Okay.
I like your edge. I
would
like your edge.
I would say for the purposes of this exercise, because we've done the defensive tackle
let's take
thing
the
a
wide
lot,
receiver.
We're going to take Luther Burden III,
I agree.
wide receiver from
Look
Mizzou.
at that. Love it.
All right, boys. We're gonna turbo. Let's see here. Let's turbo our way toward the 97th overall pick. So we're going to go toward the back of the third round here. And I think if it played out this way, without a trade back, just getting a wide receiver and then not picking again until 97, I'd be a little surprised at that. But we didn't get any phone calls, and there was a player ranked 10 slots above where we were picking as we run the Vikings front office exercise here. So that puts us back on the clock with the 97th overall pick. Forno, here are the best players available. You can take a look at them. 2 trade offers, by the way.
Let's take a look at the trade offers and see who wants to come up. Maybe we can get a later pick in day 3.
So we're picking 97th right now. The Jets at 110 are calling, and the Seahawks at 137 are calling.
Let's talk to the Jets, because I think we can get maybe pick, because we're at 97, so it'd be a 13 spot drop. I think you could probably get 162.
Ooh, the 145 says.
Heck yeah, do the 145. I was thinking.
Ask for 207 too.
Okay, yeah, we can't get both those. If we kick in the 207, there's an 84%
Oh yeah,
chance.
you're in good shape.
There we go.
Oh.
All right, let's offer this and see what the Jets say.
Idiot.
Trade accepted immediately.
Idiot.
Just fleeced them.
Complete moron.
Idiot. So there we go. Okay, we're going to resume this draft. Now we're going to be back on the clock. We've got the 110, the 139, and the 145 here, Forno.
All right. So we can do a lot of different things here. I am intrigued by the potential of a day 3 quarterback. I would want to have more like 7 or 8 picks. I think you should always have a guy in the room that you're trying to develop. They wanted that to be Jaron Hall. When they decided to add Brett Rippon, Hall decided to go to Seattle. Totally understand that move. So 2 guys I'm looking at right here, Kobe Bryant and Jamari Caldwell. Kobe Bryant is a dog. He is one of my favorite players in this class. He's a member of the All Forno team, and he kind of fits that Mekhi Blackman type archetype, which they also prioritize with the Isaiah Rodgers signing, who Kevin O'Connell praised earlier today at the owners meeting breakfast. I love corners who are undersized and will punch you in the mouth. Kobe Bryant might weigh 175 pounds, but he does not get bullied like he weighs 175 pounds. I love what he can bring to the table. He's my second favorite prospect in this class behind Quincy Riley, who we'll talk about at 139. Caldwell, this dude that is 340 pounds.
340?
He is a nose tackle, but his hips don't lie. He can torque those hips. He can move people. He can. He has some shocking ability to rush the passer for his size. He's not an elite pass rusher by any means, but you get a true nose tackle in there.
So he's a load.
I like Harrison Phillips a lot. I would prefer him to not have to play nose tackle consistently. Yep. I think that would be a better usage of him, but he's more than capable of doing so. Plus, Taki Taimani, good player, but if you have a guy like Caldwell, who also is a member of the All Forno team, I would take him. That would be my dude here.
Let's do
on Caldwell right now.
Also, with the intel we're getting from nightclubs in Fort Lauderdale, it sounds like clearly Asante Samuel Jr. is going to sign after the comp pick window ends. So we're going to go Jamari Caldwell here from Oregon with the 110, and that'll put us back on the clock with the 130. So we have the 139 and the 145. Really curious to hear. I'm kind of with you on just get a developmental quarterback into quarterback rehab school here. Get your Brock Purdy in the door just in case. So we're on the clock with the first pick in the 5th round.
Okay, so first pick in the 5th round. I'm looking at the quarterbacks. Riley Leonard, no, he's kind of a glorified running back. There's the reason why Notre Dame wasn't able to throw the ball much against Ohio State.
It's going to be a no for me, dog.
Quinn Ewers is the highest ranked recruit of all time. When he was coming out of high school, he was known as like Mullet Mahomes because he could do a lot of that off-platform stuff. But there's semblances of a good quarterback in there, and then there's semblances of like, dude, you're just Christian Ponder. You stink. So I'm out on him. I think he could develop into something, but he's got to be consistent, and that's just not where he is. The hope is that a guy like Will Howard might be here, but he's not. So I would probably pass on quarterback here. But the one guy that I'm thinking of and who I can't get my mind off of is Quincy Riley from Louisville. He is my favorite prospect in this class. He just an absolute like ball hawk. He's got 34 passes to defend in his career, 13 interceptions, and he will just punch you in the mouth. 5'10 and a half, 193 pounds. This is exactly what Brian Flores would love. He's got oily hips, so when he gets kind of baited to the outside and takes the cheese, He can flip them and he can carry upfield. He can play zone. He can play man. He can play nickel. This is like, I loved his teammate Jarvis Brownlee Jr. last year, gave him a 2nd-round grade. He went in round 5, and he probably played Justin Jefferson the best of anyone outside of Amik Robertson last year. I think Riley's better.
I warn you, our grade is going to suffer.
Well, he'll be there probably. And do you want to take the risk that Quincy Riley is still there in 6 picks, or do you want should we just do it and then let's just do it?
Yeah, let's just do it.
I mean, Forno's
B. It's a B now.
Yeah, look, I know this pick is a C+.
We'll never get the A.
That's fine. I think we'll still get an A. The other guy I'm looking at here, now that we're at 145, I think running back's a really good position to look at.
Here, let me give you I'll put the running backs on the screen here so you can just see exclusively. Trevor Etienne.
Yeah, so running back isn't super flush, but I do love Trevor Etienne, 5'8.5", 207 pounds. I think at the combine he weighed 199. Not
even 21 yet. Wow.
He's young. He's athletic. He's never really been asked to shoulder the load, which is not really what you want him to be. You want him to be a 15 to 20 carry a game guy. You want him to be part of a stable, which is what the modern day National Football League is anyways. ETN can take your offense to the next level. He can help elevate this group to a much bigger place.
Catch the ball, it looks like, too, huh?
Yeah, he's not like his brother Travis, who at Clemson said he was afraid of catching the ball. That's a real quote, by the way. I'm making it up. But he plays very similarly to his brother.
His targets to receptions are pretty impressive. It looks like he has
32
one pass.
Is it even a drop? It's 33 targets, and he caught 32 of them, which is kind of wild.
The only miss was a poorly thrown ball against Kentucky this year. And Carson Beck, he was projected maybe go first round as a quarterback. He's bad. So, and now he's got the Brock Purdy torn UCL injury. He had Tommy John after that SEC title game. But ETN can run gap, can run zone, and he's got real juice. He ran a 4.43 at the combine. Like, I think you get a little speed in there. Plus, he's got the kind of height where you can leverage pass blocking a little better. I think he could use a little improvement on technique, but most running backs can coming out of college.
I love that. So, yeah, he's a Viking now, and we have 2 picks left. 187, we're on the clock right now, and then the 207. So here's what the remaining player slate looks like. I'll just scroll down for you.
So one guy to keep an eye on is that Thomas Fedone, the tight end from Nebraska. The Vikings spend a lot of time with him at Nebraska's pro day. He's a very athletic guy. He's big. This is the kind of developmental tight end you want. Somebody with high upside. He's an athlete. Plus, he's a really solid blocker. Like, I don't think he's an elite player, but you need a tight end 3. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything for you. And when you have a high upside athlete, like, these are the kind of dart throws. I think upside itself is kind of a misnomer because upside can really sell you on a player who just isn't really good yet. Be like, oh, but he's got this. I'm okay taking that guy in round 5, round 6. I'm not okay taking that guy in round 1. I want a good football player who also can continue to grow and have upside. So that's
Max Brosmer's there. Max Brosmer.
We love that. We're all aboard the TE3 wagon there, and that leaves us with the 207 here. And the 4 best players on the PFF board are all quarterbacks here, Forno.
So the 2 routes I'm looking at, I do like Brosmer. There's a reason why the Gophers. There's a reason why they brought him in from New Hampshire. He does have a lot of juice. I don't love the Gophers passing offense as a whole. I don't like how it's structured. To me, it's too RPO based. It's too generic. And considering PJ Fleck was a former wide receiver, I would like it to be a little more diverse in that sense. I like Curtis Rourke a lot from Indiana.
Ooh,
not only did he lead the Hoosiers to a college football playoff berth, he played the entire season on a torn ACL. This is as tough as nails.
Big dude too. Big dude.
Yeah, he's big. I think he's got more arm strength than his last season really showed because he had such a weak base because of that torn ACL. This guy's a winner. This guy understands how to play smart football. He has a good enough arm. He's going to be much more of a pocket control passer, which I think is what Kevin O'Connell wants anyways. You got to win from the pocket first and foremost. Everything else is bonus. So if you're taking a developmental guy, it would either be Brosmer or Rourke for me. Shuck, I'm sorry. No, I can't trust you to stay healthy. You're going to step on a paperclip and be out for 6 weeks.
I think let's do Curtis Rourke here from Indiana. I love it, man. There it is with the 207 right there. So It's fun. So we totally different path in that one than the ones we've done previously, because we took the wide receiver at 20, stuck and picked at 24, made our trade back at 97 to pick up a couple extra draft picks, and then took our Brock Purdy in the 6th round in this particular case. So, all right, PFF is grading our draft. Let's see what they say. I think we're going to get a nice little AA plus for the PFF. Missouri wide receiver.
I think we will, because higher picks are graded on a much higher curve than lower picks.
There's an A for Luther Burden.
Yep.
Okay, B for Jamari Caldwell. They dinged us a little bit for the Quincy Riley. The late rounds, they loved it.
Hold on.
A minus.
Oh, an A minus. Way to go, 4-0.
All right.
I didn't see it coming.
That's right. We just live every day seeking the validity of the validation of PFF's mock draft simulator.
First A I've gotten in ages.
So there it is, you guys. Our mock draft simulation here with our guy, Tyler Forness. You can find Forno's work at A2Z.com, where he is one of the foremost draft experts and authorities. And you can find his podcast and YouTube work over at the Vikings First and Skol YouTube channel. If you haven't already clicked the subscribe button on that, then go over there and catch Forno doing shows on a weekly and oftentimes more than weekly basis. So anything else you want to plug before we part ways? And we'll do it again. We'll bring you and Thor together as the modern day Mel Kiper and Todd McShay here in a couple weeks from now.
I'm excited to do a show with Thor, because we don't talk much during draft season about prospects, mainly because I like to keep a clear mind. And I think that helps once we do get together, because we've formed our own opinions, and then we can have better discussions that way. No, every Monday and Wednesday night, Vikings First Skol YouTube channel. And then whenever something happens, we just go live and we talk ball. It's a good time.
Love it, man. Tyler Forness, and we'll do it again in a couple weeks. You'll see him as part of the coverage on draft night as well here. Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. We'll see you guys.